Hi guys, this week's video is a carry on from the last one I did, which was on the January Almanac. Now, I showed you how to, create your altar and do things like that, which was really interesting. This week, it's all about what we can write in the Almanac, especially for Nordic systems of belief or Seidr practice. So really different to the normal Wheel of the Year. What's the first thing we think of when we're coming into January? Well, January is the new month, the first month of the natural year that everybody celebrates. Now, I live in England, and England has the 4 seasons, so it's a bit different. But what I like to do is bring in the Anglo-Saxon part of it. Now, the name for the month in Old Norse is Gili, spelled Giuli, and it is the way it was spoken back then. In Anglo-Saxon, Afdira Giola, which is quite a mouthful really. So let's just call it January. I mean, if you wanted to be precise, you could write it in the old languages in your book. How do you go about it, or what do you actually put in an almanac? Well, when you buy an almanac, it's all laid out for you, and you would have things in there like the moon phases, when ritual is good to do, the planting seasons, and magical aspects, celebrations and things like that. And it would put, depending on what you celebrated or how you practice, would be how that almanac would look. So being this is a Nordic one, we would have slightly different things in it. Now, Seidr practitioners do use, did and still do to this day, use the moon, because the moon, it's a, how do I say, it cultivates the land, and there is steep connections with Mani, and so Mani being a god of the moon. And so even though he is a lesser god, let's put it that way, he may be a lesser god, but is still very important in the Nordic calendar, because when he comes into his fullness, the power is poured upon the land. You could write the moon phase in one corner, you could put the name in the other corner, and then come down and put what you're feeling of the month is. The focus of the month of January would be endurance, staying still in the quiet, but also the promise of a renewal, of the beginning of the sun coming back and the start of newness. So 2 things really are being brought together, and so you can let your imagination run riot with this, and you could put drawings in of things that matter to you, or things that you will look at and sense that's what it means. You could pick a card from a tarot pack that you feel suits it and put it in there, depending on how big your book is. Obviously, if you're gonna hand do this to keep as your own work, then great, you can add things, stick things in. Themes could be about resilience, and you could note down things of resilience, protection, starting a new regime in your practice, just adding little things to it to make it more personal, honouring the actual traits of winter. Not just trying to get through winter, but to add those things in that make you feel that you are happy to be living within that month. But then you can add in the gods or goddesses for the month that you're doing. So being January, we can seek Skadi in this, and she and her wolves and the mountains and the snow and all that aspect around her can be brought in to this almanac page. Add the rune for that month, and of course, as we look at stillness and stagnation, it brings to mind the rune of Isa. And so you can draw in your Isa or take a picture and put it into your copy that you're writing online, whatever way you're doing it, but you just want to make it more nice to look at, you know, add a bit of flair to it, a bit of yourself, and it'll make it more important. There's a difference between a homemade almanac and one that is bought, or one that is written and printed and sold. So you have to remember that you can add things to yours that won't be available in one that you've bought. I know we've probably passed time, but January the 6th is wassailing. But what that means is it's the end of the Yule celebrations. In other words, we put that in the past now and we're starting a new beginning. So you can write that in. It is a date as such. You can make a ritual of your own, but some of the things that you can do, which you can note down, is spiced mead, if you can get your hands on it, or cider, I know. But by getting these things, you can bless trees that are symbolic, like apple trees, and you just add it to that in a symbolism, sort of gratitude. We can say in a chant in so many words that we bless the future of what's coming, the yield that will be coming later in the year, but we promote by giving blessings of Skadi or whoever you wish to use into that tree as you give your blessing as such from your own heart to yield forth an abundance. And we pour the liquid onto whatever plant that you feel you'd like to see an abundance from. But it does sort of stipulate in Nordic tradition apples or an apple tree. And of course you can look at some of the stories about apples in the Prose or Poetic Edda. There's many stories about fruit, apples, all sorts. But if you can't get your hands on those liquids, you can give a physical apple or bread. You could make an apple bread and give some of that, and then the birds would love that, because obviously when you give an offering outdoors, the animals will partake, and that goes to the gods. People say to me, is it worth giving outside because the animals take it? Well, yes, of course. You know, when you look at Odin's ravens, you know, they come down to the earth to watch us and take back information. And so you're giving offerings, they take a part of it and go back to Odin and tell him you were giving food to the animals. How much better is that? Now, when we come to January the 13th, this is about ploughing, and we call it Plough Monday. And so what does this signify? Well, it is an acknowledgement of coming back to life, work, because you have to remember that in the old days when people took that time off, that whole time would have been spent within their families in the home. And so now we put that to one side and we're coming back into the start of working again. And of course, for the folk that worked in the farming trade or around agriculture, it would be ploughing, getting the fields ready for the seeds to start all over again. Now, because when you go back to work, you have tools of the trade. And for somebody who is farming, they would have tools that they need, and they would bless those tools. And the thing that was physically available at that time, which encompassed Skadi and ice of Isa, would be snow. And so they would bless their tools with snow. And as they did that, chant something at the same time. Bless the tools that till the land and bring forth much upon my hand. Things like that, just let it flow from you. Light a candle if you want light on the situation. Then you could say, keep my tools safe, show the light, even though the snow around it is bright. And it's just really getting into a flow. So write these things down. You might get these things in dreams, and if such, that's really cool because it's very prophetic. You can give an offering by going to the local woods or park, taking some seeds that you can buy in little packs to help promote growth of plants, and just bury them into the soil around trees or hedges. And that's your offering, you're giving back to nature. January the 25th is a full moon, and it's called the wolf moon. Protection, community and endurance. So everybody's starting from scratch, and as such, so we need to be in the right frame of mind. So a ritual for the full moon would be a really good thing to do. And also the wolf is a symbol of protection. Now you could chant while lighting a candle under the full moon. You could sit there with the candlelight as you're lighting it, sort of meditate on what you want for the following month, and seek Mani to come bless you while you're doing it. And you could chant the words, under the wolf's moonlight, I call for clarity, endurance and might. And you just say that over and over as much as you really want to. And then an offering, meat, bread or milk. Now the reason for the meat would be is because it is a wolf's moon, and as such you're giving to that energy that craves substance and being substantial for protection. We want to improve that. Milk and white bread is very indicative of the moon, the whiteness of the moon. And so they're things you can do that. So just write that one down. The almanac wouldn't be complete without your list of moon phases. January the 11th is a new moon, and as witches we know about the new moon. Different types of practice will tell you different things, but of course we're doing this for Seidr and Nordic belief. So it is new beginnings and setting intentions, which is a good thing to think about. Get your intentions, write them down, roll them up, burn them while visualizing growth in that area. And so that's a very good one to do. It's peaceful and you're using your visualization techniques at the same time. Then we have the first quarter, which is on 18th of January. And so this is the starting of getting into the meat of it all. So that would be for growth and moving forwards. Now you can also perform a rune casting to direct your efforts on everything that you're going to partake in, to determine in which way you should put your efforts in. So it's a good thing to do. It's forecasting where you perhaps may have gone and shouldn't have gone, because it's all too easy to go by our gut instincts and how we feel. Now we did the full moon one, so we know what you're doing for that, but you can add that in separately as a full moon bit, or add it in to the phases. The last quarter falls in the beginning of February, which is the 2nd of February, and that would be for letting go of things that no longer serve us, letting go of things that we find difficult to let go of as well. It's not always about just letting go of things, guys. Things have attachments to them, and our experiences and feelings can sort of get in the way of that. And again, it'll be a time of letting Isa go as well. And so with that rune, we would perhaps see or visualize the waters flowing again, and the ice melting, and the snow dissipating. And so you're letting go. You're letting go. The main ritual that you can do for January will involve working with Skadi, and it's almost like you're giving her notice that you are moving away from the coldness of what she's used to, and as such you'd be leaving her behind as well. So how do we go about that? You get a beautiful white candle. Now I got candles that were they were lovely white with lots of glitter on, and so that reminds me of the snow-capped mountains, and it just brings forth that freshness of everything starting new. So you would call out as lighting the candle to Skadi, and you can make your own words up. And so you call out to her, meditate on her, leaving her behind, walking away from her, thanking her for everything she's done for you during the winter months, the colder part, the darker part, but now you're coming into the light and things are thawing. And so in gratitude, really, you're saying farewell till the following year. Now, you could use precise times like the new moon. You could do a releasing of Isa, and it's an easy one, guys. You just hold that rune in your hand and you can visualize the sun starting to burn into Isa, and Isa releasing the ice but remaining steadfast as Isa, because Isa isn't just for winter, it's for all of the year. And so we're not killing Isa off, we're actually allowing Isa to be more fluid and to become like water. And so emotion will come in on that. Focus your eyes upon it and just let that energy come into you. Another thing you can do is a ritual to the wolf, because it being a wolf moon, and that can come from the heart. A lot of people have wolf guides or wolf internally, feel like they're a wolf. A lot of North or Nordic witches will feel that pull of the wolf within, the wanting to run and be free. And so you can do a ritual for that as well. Light the candle and place the herbs in a circle, and then you can say, by the light of the wolf moon bright, protect this space and guard it tight. Skadi's strength, the wolf's keen eye, shield me and mine as the moon rides high. You can take those herbs and throw them onto the threshold of the doorstep in the front or the back of the house, and that is a protection spell, and that's giving gratitude to the wolves as well. So they're lovely rituals to do, guys. These personal things are going to make your almanac so lovely to keep and go back on, and every year you can add a little bit of newness of what you've discovered yourself. So this is a work in progress, guys, and you're always going to be adding little bits to it. So it's something really cool to keep and do, and each month will keep you on that path as well. So you're adding parts of yourself into it. Offerings to the land spirits of where you live is another good thing that you can add in. Nuts and apples and fruit, spiced cider, as we said earlier. So the things that we've already spoken about, you can look back and then write them down again as offerings for the month. Now, the one thing we left out, and that is the ancestors, giving gratitude to them, because they've seen you through that winter time, that really dark time, and you have been close to them, and so you don't forget them. Personal totems of remembrance. So, a good time to clean the altar for your ancestors, maybe renew the photos or information, give gifts, things that mean a lot, that meant a lot to them. And so maybe if you have, say for example, something that belonged to someone that was in your family, you can lay that on the altar, but giving that a good clean, a good ritual cleanliness, and then spend some time. So yeah, another ritual which is pretty cool to do in January. Now, this is something that is a good thing to write down, and it's nice to do, and that's wassailing. And that would be to take a walk through the park or the woods, singing your praises to them, giving them that loving attitude that you just want to promote them. They're coming out of that winter, remember. They've been desolate time themselves, and so any energy given to them at this time will help them to recover from the winter and become beautiful again. And it doesn't have to be outside, guys. You can use your plants indoors as well. So I will be singing around my dragon plant and just add that in again. And you can perhaps make up a song and write that down also, putting the notes in there slightly different to what you get in a normal book, eh? Again, while the snow's still on the ground or it's still very wintry, taking a walk, a winter walk, and, you know, embracing Skadi's realm, which is not going to be with us for much longer. So making the most of that quietness, the stillness. Then you can renew your tools if needs be, or update them, or just clean them. And again, we will do a blessing ritual upon them and clean them spiritually. So everything is ready for the coming year. You can make a fantastic one yourself by making it, writing it, putting things in, you know, even taking like clippings of plants and then, you know, flattening them and keeping them in there. There's so much you can do, and those almanacs will mean so much more to you, and they will be of your own practice. So it doesn't matter what practice you are on, you can make them personal to you. And I think that that's a lovely thing to do at the beginning of a new year. But there you go, guys. I'm going to leave it there. It's been lovely to come into this new month and feel like it's a start of newness. Thank you to any new subscribers. Thank you also for the support that you all give to this channel, guys. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. So let's move forwards now and have a great rest of January and see how things go. But I'm sure this year is going to be much better than last. I always say that because you've got to be positive. Anyway, leaving it there now, guys. So wherever you are, whatever time of day, night or evening it may be, I wish you the best ever. House of Alay.